is Nikki Thompson, and you're listening to Tea with Nikki, Embracing Your Sexual Energy. Now, I'm super excited today because it's a little bit different. Today, I'm going to be sharing an interview that I've done with a very special guest. She's our first guest on the podcast, which is exciting, and this is a little bit of a different segment. So we still have our usual segment coming out every Monday, but every now and then I'm going to be doing some interviews and they'll come out on a Wednesday. These are just little bonus episodes for you. Now, this particular guest is a good friend of mine. We met salsa dancing. She's an author. She is a very, very creative woman, and I'm really excited to be sharing this episode with you. And inside this interview, we're going to talk about what it is that embracing sexual energy really means to Cara. Her name's Cara Violet. And what does that look like in her day-to-day life? How does that impact her work that she does being an author? How does that impact the rest of her life? So it's a fun interview. I really hope you enjoy it. And over the coming months, we'll be having more guests come on. If you're interested in being featured, and if you want to come and have a chat with me on the podcast, just send me a message. You can find me on social media with Nikki Thompson, or you can just send me an email, nikki@nikkithompson.com. All right, let's get into it. Cara on the podcast. I'm really excited to have a guest. You're one of my first guests, which is really exciting. Yeah. We've been talking about this for a little while, and we've finally lined it up. We've known each other for a number of years now. And we met through salsa dancing down in the streets. Sounds way dirtier than it is. And it's always been a lot of fun. Like, we've just kind of connected randomly while we were dancing. We'd have a few chats a bit, and then as you've moved away, I feel like we chat more now than we did when you lived down the road. So I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. Today we're going to be talking all about you and some exciting projects that you've been working on for the past few months, years even. And we're going to be hearing about what it means, what sexual energy and embracing that really means to you. So, Cara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I'm honestly so happy to be here and honoured. I really appreciate it.
It's been one of those things of getting people to come on and talk about this topic, and you came to mind. Like, you, and we've actually spoken about it before, talking about, like, we've always just been able to go into deep conversations really quickly. There's none of the surface level crap that we have to kind of swim through before we get to the good conversations. And I do actually have that memory of watching a Goop episode of Netflix all about the vagina and orgasms. And I remember just sitting there, just like drinking tea and watching that, and just like, yeah, this is cool. It's interesting. I don't know many people.
It was, eye-opening.
Yeah. So thank you. So tell us a little bit about what you've been working on, because it's a really exciting project.
It's a coming of age story. Kayanin is very hot-headed, I'll put it that way. She has a lot to say, a lot to think about. She has a mentor in her life. She has people that protect her as well. And it's about her finding out who she is. It's the basic, underlying aim of it. It does focus on creating a voice for the voiceless as well. So a lot of the times Kayanin finds, because of her position, she can't say the things that she wants to say, but really that's not the case. And I think it aligns with who we are as people as well. We sometimes self-muzzle, believing that what we have to say doesn't matter and shouldn't matter. So she's, I guess, as a female, trying to find out a voice in sometimes a world full of men, full of a hierarchy of power. I am a little bit political as well in the series, so I get into a little bit of anarchism as well. But yeah, it's just her working out, and definitely a lot of interactions as well with other characters. And I love it. And I remember you telling me that
you know, you've been through quite a journey over the last 2 years, like everyone does, you know, especially when you kind of hit your late 20s stage, you start questioning everything because before that, I feel like you're just on a mission to, you know, tick these goals off that you think you should be ticking off. And then we all go through like this bit of a journey. And I love that you were telling me you've incorporated elements and lessons of that into your book, which I'm really excited to read. I can't wait to get a copy. And I love that you've done that. So I feel like this is, you know, you're able to put you into your work, even though it's fiction. Like, you know, I love that.
Absolutely. And there was something that somebody told me, I can't remember, it was a quote because I love my quotes, but somebody had said that when you were growing up, that there was somebody that you needed when you were younger, or something that you needed, that you may basically, you can find a purpose to kind of put yourself in, or, you know, devote yourself to. So it was definitely finding out how I grew up, and what type of, I guess, I created a whole world out of this, kanjing, aura, like it's a whole hierarchy of basically utilizing who we are as people and tapping into that and aligning, like you talk a lot about, with actually your true self. So I do have that, like, I guess when you're more attuned with who you are, and that goes with sexual energy, that goes with a lot of things, you definitely have a lot more confidence with who you are, and to make those decisions, which I talk a lot about with the political side. How do we make decisions as a society as well? And that we're not necessarily given the ability to make many decisions either.
Oh, do you know what? I actually find, well, I'm much better now, but one of my biggest struggles, I think, before was making quick decisions, but then trusting my decisions. Like I'd be so indecisive. It would drive me crazy, but just making decisions like constantly. I mean, we make thousands of decisions a day, but sticking to like your bigger decisions, trusting myself that this was the right decision and moving forward with that. I found that really hard. And you're right. We're never really taught how to make those decisions, but I also feel like, we never really celebrate when we have made good decisions. Like we're always critical of ourselves when we're making bad decisions. So we don't really know what a good decision looks like because we're not talking about that. We're not celebrating that. And I think that is especially the case for women when it comes to celebrating anything about themselves. It's always, you know, there's that societal kind of negative view where a woman that's celebrating herself is kind of up herself or in love with herself or whatever it is in a negative way. So I think there's a lot of lessons there, but we all go through these journeys, and the reason why I do what I do is so that we can have these conversations, so that women can hear these conversations, because they're not having them. You know, it's like we feel as though we're the only ones that, you know, don't trust our decisions. We're the only ones who are feeling stuck and overwhelmed, especially when we're in that space. It's very easy to feel as though we're the only one there. And the conversations in the world, like on social media, it's very surface level, because everyone's too scared to have their real opinion. Everyone's too scared to cheer themselves on. Everyone's too scared to do these things because they feel as though people are going to be critical of that. And what I wanted is these real conversations. What have you struggled with? Like, what does make you so good? Like, what is the positive things, the bragging side? Again, bragging has this negative kind of connotation attached to it, but it shouldn't have. Like, you know, I asked my kids, you know, how'd you go today at school, or what did you do at school? And they're like telling me how amazing they are at painting, or how they're the fastest runner in the whole school. You know, they have no issue, but as we get older, that's kind of ingrained in us. Oh wait, that's bad. Don't celebrate yourself. And so then we've got this whole kind of world of people who kind of feel like they can't cheer themselves on. And women tend to kind of be pulling each other down. And that was a conversation I had on the podcast the other day, actually, was just about how we often will pull each other down when we're not connected with ourselves. And yeah, I just find that really interesting. It's like we look for other places, other approval. So
Absolutely.
what
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you as well today, so I've got a couple of questions for you, but one
Mm.
of the first ones is, when we talk about sexual energy, what does that mean to you? And what
Yeah.
does it kind
So
of look like for you?
yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, when we grow up, I think we have certain traits and habits that we do learn from our immediate family and that structure. And I think you've talked about it on your podcast before, that, you know, we tend to gravitate. And as young women, we tend to look to our parents, our mothers, we might look to our friends. And yeah, women are very much, sometimes they do feel like they should be seen and not heard. So when you do have that unfortunate belief, it is difficult to then say, I'm a sexual being. There's things about me that I can, you know, actually delve into and find out about myself. But if we do place a heavy taboo on talking about it, or on making it like, I mean, I've been in conversations where people are like, oh, I don't want to have sex because I don't enjoy it. Well, why aren't we having more of these conversations about how we can enjoy it, rather than, you know, the opposite of saying, well, let's just not talk about it at all. And I think we're in a generation that had parents that didn't discuss it, but now with technology, I think we can find more people who are wanting to be more open with who they are. So with anything, I mean, obviously I write science fiction, fantasy, and that's who my true self is. But to align mentally, I mean, it's both mental and physical. It's about accepting not just, you know, the strong belief of me wanting to be a writer, but it's also the strong belief of me being attuned with my body and what makes me feel good about myself in both aspects and realms. So it's so powerful to find yourself able to connect with you on a physical level, because that's who we are. We are, you know, man and woman, you know, whatever you identify as, you have energy running through you. You are somebody who can tap into your true self and find pleasure. You can experience joy through that. So I think a lot of people think that it's a negative thing to be alone and to kind of sit in that. I mean, I'm happy in my alone times. That's probably the most creative I am, is with myself. But yeah, obviously all interaction is very valuable. But yeah, you should also put value on your time with you. I think again, as society grows and communication kind of distorts that disconnection and apathy tends to come into play, and blame culture, we miss out on being our true self because we're so busy judging everybody else. But yeah, I definitely find that as I've grown and become more aligned with my true self, it hasn't just been about, you know, the writing and publishing my books. It's also been about getting in touch with who I am physically. And you build a resilience. You build confidence when you love who you are, you love your body. Again, I know that you've always thought that you should be a certain way, you should look a certain way. I had so many issues growing up. And one of them, unfortunately, I had an eating disorder as well. Like, you know, that's a vulnerable moment where we've all been there. I wasn't the skinniest. I've always had curves. For some reason, I loathed them. Like, I don't even know why. I hated myself. But you learn that, you know, God made you as you. And if you don't believe God, scientifically, you are you. Nobody can change that. You can alter yourself. You can do whatever you like. Obviously, everyone has the means to. But until you can find, like, I guess, peace in that and enjoy who you are on the outside and inside, you're never, no matter how many things you get done, you're never going to find your peace. So yeah, I read a lot of books like you do, The Power of Now, and focusing on what really matters, you know. And I'm at a good place now. So yeah, but we all have our growth periods, and there's no version of perfect. Like, even though I like to think like I can chase it forever, like I can't. Like, it's acceptance. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying. You know, we all do go through these growth periods, and we're going to continue to do that. You know, I'd hate to just like get to this certain point at 34 and be like, okay, this is it. Like, you know, I want to continue to grow, continue to learn. I think learning is my biggest passion. And hearing what you're saying there, it's like, I think that will give people a better understanding of what sexual energy is. It's not just about the sex. Like, that is such a small part of what we talk about in this whole message.
Absolutely.
Is that appreciation and acceptance of our body. Because I think this thought came to me the other day. So I've had 3 kids. My body has gone from through a range of sizes over the past 10 years. And the other day I was like feeling a bit fat, bit bloated. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I remember thinking, hang on a second. There was a period in my life that I wanted to be this size right now. There was a period in my life where I was feeling so sore, recovering from surgery or whatever had happened, or feeling really sick, where I've wanted to feel as good as I do right now. And yet I'm not appreciating it. And that was like, you know, when you're feeling like you've got a cold or you're just really sick, like especially with head colds and stuff like that, I get really depressed. I hate being sick. And it feels as though you'll never feel well again. Like it's this like just miserable feeling, and like you can't think straight, you can't keep your eyes open for very long, you can't concentrate, all of these things. And then I remember, hang on a second, like when I look back, I've been sick multiple times, you know, had surgeries and things like that. I've wanted to feel this good as I do right now. This is an awesome body. And I love that you talk about body issues, and that's something that a lot of women and men face, in that it's like we're trying to, what's the word? It's like restrict pleasure and joy as like a punishment for our body, because we're not in love with it. We don't enjoy it. And so that tends to be our first kind of point of call, is that restriction through food or through overexerting ourselves in exercise, or
absolutely,
you know, or it's like you don't want to get like really dressed up, or you don't want to take care of yourself. You don't want to, I know when I was feeling quite depressed after having children, like through all the hormonal changes, it's like I didn't want to have a shower properly. You know, all of these things, I didn't want to take care of my body because I just felt so disconnected with that. And it's a continual journey. I mean, our bodies are always changing, and we're learning more and more about them. And I love how much we can do with our bodies. So I think pleasure is definitely a key element that women feel as though they don't deserve sometimes, is like they don't deserve that pleasure, or they feel like they need to restrict it for whatever reason. They don't feel confident. So
and that you know, you've been on a journey that's taken time. Like you have to go through sometimes some stuff to get to where you need to be.
Yeah. And it all kind of gets thrown at you when you're meant to learn that lesson. And I've heard that saying, it's like you'll continue to get the lesson until you've learned it.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would love to know, so you are a very creative person. So I would love to know, is there something that you do that helps you get into that space, or that helps take care of yourself to kind of stay connected?
As in, like, in terms of just creating the energy space, or? Yeah. So, I mean, I always say to just get up every day, obviously make your bed. And I also believe you should make yourself. So if you want to like feel, and of course in this time where we're all self-isolated, I've been home for long durations. I don't know about you, but you know, you can go a little bit bat crazy. So I was very much saying, I have to get up, I have to make the bed, I have to make myself. So I have to shower. It's just that routine.
Yeah.
And when I feel certain ways, like I'm obviously with creative energy, it needs to be balanced. So, I mean, I could be writing all day and have a great day. Other times I could be more connected physically, and have times where, you know, I'll pause and stop and meditate and reflect. Like, yeah, it really, for me, it's about creating a space, but also when I'm made myself, and that could be anything. Like if you like wearing black, or if you like wearing hats, whatever, I'm just saying you don't have to do what I do, but it's in the sense that make yourself, you know, you are I believe you have this appeal, you have charisma. And it is when you put on whatever you want to express yourself as, and that's your face, that's how your expression, how happy you are, you know, and I don't, like, you can't always be happy, but it's how do you find that peace in those moments? So I range, like when I feel a certain way, I'll focus over there. So I don't force myself to be creative if I don't feel it. And because of that, sometimes I do miss deadlines, like at the moment. But at least my work is very much authentic to who I am. So the Canon trilogy focuses on who I guess I want to portray in terms of hoping that I'll change people with what they read. I couldn't be able to put in that much, I guess, encouragement within the series if I wasn't in a good place to do it. Because I think sometimes we force ourselves to find energy when we're not in a place to do that. So for me, it's getting up. And I used to, like you, have times where I didn't want to get out of bed, where I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. I don't want to have a shower. And I remember when I was in my mid-20s, I lived in an apartment on my own, and there were some weeks where I had no communication with the outside world, and my house was dirty, like everything was everywhere. I hadn't cleaned and I hadn't had a shower, and I thought that would be conducive to my writing. Well, that was the complete opposite. I was in a dark place. So now I've just learnt the routine's there, but to be in a good spot before you start doing it. And like I mentioned before, like you're on a journey, I'm on a journey. We all have to go through these things to kind of find that what makes us connect to that creative energy. Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And I totally agree. For me, making my bed first thing in the morning, absolute must, because I don't feel like I can start my day until that's done. And I have a beautiful morning routine that for me sets me up for the day, like exercise, meditation, food, all that stuff. I couldn't do this a few years ago when I had little kids, and there's going to be women listening to this who are in a space, they've got like 3 minutes flat before, they're going to, but whatever's going to boost you, having a very quick shower or putting on a little bit of makeup. I love like a tinted moisturizer. So quick, maybe some lipstick, that makes me feel good. Some people don't wear makeup and that makes them feel good, like they have that kind of natural glow. And I think it's finding what works for you and playing around. Like for me, I've tried a few little things like painting my nails. I never used to paint my fingernails because with little kids, like I was always like washing my hands constantly, like it was in dirt, Play-Doh, nappies, all the rest of it. Whereas now that makes me feel good. Like it makes me feel nice. And the other part that I just love what you said is like, it's like you can give yourself that permission to rest. You don't need to be on all the time. Like you can't create like that. It doesn't work like that. We've got days and nights for a reason. We've got seasons for a reason. Like the planet rests in the winter, and we need to be able to allow ourselves, because as women we kind of carry this badge of honor of busyness, like you ask anyone how are you going, I'm so busy, but it's like it's seen as a really good thing. But I've been resting, they'd be like, what the fuck, like but I love that you're saying that. It's like, let's embrace kind of that flow, that natural flow of our energy. And we can find ways to do that, whether it's going to bed a little bit earlier, whether it's like just giving yourself a bit of a break at some point through the day, listening to music, whatever is going to work for you. But it's kind of, we never feel like we're allowed to have a break. And that's part of the problem.
Absolutely. I think I was like that in my more depressive stages. Now, like about 5:30, that my computer's off and I'm busy downtime. So it's either dinner, do you know what I mean? You cannot think that you can do 13 hours reading, writing. It doesn't, I've learnt my lesson. It'll be poor quality otherwise. For me, that's the experience that I've had. So I'm off. My busyness of an evening is either meditating, cooking dinner, and having social conversation, interaction with people in my household. And you've got kids, like you have to be on. Like you can't be thinking about work when, you're asking them what's going on with their day. I mean, and people get mixed up with that. They think that if they neglect everything and focus on one thing, well, that you are way out of energy. You're in misalignment, and your
Yeah.
body's not going to thank you for it either, let alone your mental health. Yeah.
No, you really can't. Like, and I know that when I start packing in my days, like trying to get more and more and more and exhausting myself, I feel so disconnected with my body. Like, I feel really connected. I can feel like I'm then start drinking like extra drinks, or I'm like reaching for like crap food. It's, you know, just to kind of stay alert. And I'm like, no, this isn't what I need. But it's a practice. Like, it's something we need to remind ourselves of, that there are so many facets of maintaining that level of energy that we really want, because we all want to feel fucking amazing, like all the time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So it requires that downtime, that hibernation element throughout the day, and you know, having downtime on the weekends or whenever that's going to work for you. But I've also been like scheduling in downtime through the year for me. So a couple of weeks every month, every few months, it's like, okay, this is blocked out. This is downtime, you know. So it's a matter of making that as a priority, setting those boundaries for your life, like however that works for you, and your whole life. Like, there's so many parts of the puzzle to make it work. But I'm so glad that you could share that with us today. Did you have, before we finish up, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or a tip that you'd share with people?
A tip about writing, or about energy, about balance?
If they're kind of if they're at the early stages of the journey, so think back to yourself when you were just kind of starting to explore personal development, or even understanding your own sexual energy. What was something that made you feel connected with yourself?
Well, I probably would say I felt for first and foremost disconnected, and that's probably what put me on the search for it. I really believed, as with Christian values, that as soon as you met someone and you were intimate with them, that was it. Basically, you were on that road, and that was where you were going. So, you know, as women, we tend to think that the marriage is the be all and end all. So it was hard for me as someone, you know, it was my late teens, early 20s, my first relationship, and I didn't understand what I wanted out of my own life, let alone how I could merge and be with somebody else, you know, and work out what that life looked like. So my journey, and I was very outspoken as I grew up. I was in the debate team, and then I kind of filtered back because fear really hit me. The whole, you know, women are seen, not heard, and I should probably just do what society expects of me. So it was, for me, it's been about, you know, what can I do for a 21-year-old now? If I was 21 coming out of uni and not sure, how can you find your voice? Because for women, it's very difficult. I think we struggle with working out, do we have anything of substance to say? You know, should I just be in a photo instead of having a voice? And I've self-muzzled myself. So if I could give advice to like a 21-year-old, it's really to find some type of connection. You have to search. You have to actively go on a search. It's action. You have to find different types of things that relate to you or that inspire you. You can't sit there and think life's just going to throw it at you. So I would read more. I'd definitely be widely read. With the internet, it's a lot easier to get access to free information. I mean, it's not all information, but you can get some information. But you can meet like-minded people who can inspire you. And, you know, it wouldn't have taken me so long to probably be on this journey if I had have started to really challenge who I was when I was in my early 20s and what I wanted, especially in my relationships. As a child of divorce, I had a really set, you know, idea of what men and women and how they should act as roles in my life. Well, that turned out to be completely false. And it led me, unfortunately, down a path of questioning who I was, not only being a difficult person or a conflicting person within a relationship. So yeah, it's definitely read as much as you can, listen to people, like obviously audio, podcasts, whatever you can, you know, go on a search, find out who you are. And I know at the moment a lot of people are focused on influences in the terms of, fashion or beauty and industry, but you can at some stage find a purpose if you want to. Like, there's stuff deep down, as Helen Keller says, fidelity to a worthy purpose is what will help you grow in life, and that's what you'll find your self-gratification. You're not going to find it in temporary highs. You'll find it in the consistent focus on a purpose. And yeah, to do that, I think you do also have to know a lot about your mental and physical state and to be present within it as well. But yeah, definitely read. Yeah, definitely read as much as you can.
Yeah, be on like an active journey and know that there's no there's no end goal. It's like, it's always a journey. Like, I love that.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's
I've loved this chat today.
It was awesome. Thank you for having me.
On here. And what I'll do is I will put the link to your website in the show notes as well, so people can check out your book. And
and if anyone wants to read Action and Adventure, inspire themselves, hopefully I want to change the world. So
that sounds awesome. So I will put the link straight underneath this video, so underneath the episode, so you'll be able to click on that and go and grab yourself a copy of those books. So thank you so much, Cara. I really, really appreciate it, and hope to have you again soon. That would be awesome.
Yes, absolutely. That would be good. Yeah. Thanks so much, Nikki.
Thanks.